Hi, this is the first of a series of therapeutic practices that I have curated, and this will be devoted to the neck and the shoulders, an area of complaint for a lot of people, and especially those who do flow and vinyasa yoga. So I will show a few techniques that have helped me in my practice, and also some of the modifications may be beneficial for your practice as well, and just some things to think about. Um, as far as Ayurveda goes, Ayurveda has a lot of oil massaging techniques, and one particular abhyanga is one that you do personally. So to use an oil, which is typically sesame, but in Ayurveda, you can find so many different preparations that have herbal um, concoctions that are blended into the oil to even further help detoxify the body and help with areas of pain or dysfunction. So that's one treatment that you might want to look for. There's a treatment called Shirodhara that is an oil streaming treatment where they drip oil when you are set in a platform that has actual canals that are carved out of the platform to catch the runoff of the oil. And the body just soaks this up. And it's just very beneficial, very purifying for the body. Oil actually calms and strengthens the nervous system, as well as builds immunity and helps with any pain management. So that's one aspect that you can think about if you haven't tried it, and you can look up any Ayurvedic center nearby. But I would recommend that you get someone to give you some type of recommendation. So if they've had some personal experience with that particular place, that would be very helpful. And then with the neck and shoulders, we also want to think about activities of daily life. So how you move, what your positioning is throughout your day, from morning when you wake up, getting out of bed, and how you eat, how you go about getting dressed, how you favor one side over another. So things like that, you really want to look at how we use our devices, what is the positioning, how your laptop or your computer station is, how appropriate it is to your gaze level. So things like that you really need to look at, because these are activities you do every single day of your life. And it just starts to really develop these and solidify these patterns in your body. And then we also want to look at emotional patterns, how they build as well. Especially with the shoulders, you see people that are anxious or stressed out and their shoulders climb up to their ears, and without really any awareness of that. Often I would laugh because I would find myself in bed, sometimes reading a book, and I would just wake up to the fact that my shoulders are up to my earlobes. And like, what is this? And then just really kind of washing your awareness through your body every so often, just to catch yourself. Take a little back bend break at your desk, because so much of our day-to-day, especially with devices, is this kind of rote position of the shoulders, where we have a kyphosis in the upper back, and we're overusing the accessory muscles of the neck. And then the diaphragm isn't working in its respiratory function well enough, right? So it shuts down the breath, and then a lot of other things just kind of fall apart from there. So just really becoming awake to the way that we move and go about our day, our sleeping habits, how our neck is positioned on the pillow, how many pillows we use, and So things like that are really important to look at. Shoulders, I just want to mention, we favor typically one side. And I do remember getting a shoulder injury after, all of this stuff that I do physically. It really just took one kind of whack with the shoulder of putting my backpack on it. So again, repetitive stress movements over and over and over again, the same side. And that's what it took to blow my shoulder for some time. So I'm talking from experience here, and also with the neck, I have had a diagnosis of arthritis in my neck from pretty long ago. But I've been working with it, and it's possible to work with these diagnoses. That doesn't mean the end of your practice or the end of your yoga or your sport. So just bear with me, and we'll go through this. Shouldn't be too long. I'll try to keep it pretty short. So let's get started. And the shoulders and the neck also, I just want to mention, are really an area of overuse and a lot of vulnerability because they're very complex, delicate structures. So especially the shoulder, and it has a lot of soft tissue instead of a big ball and socket joint like the hips. The hips are pretty rugged. And the shoulders, not so much. And they're both, the neck and the shoulders, have a huge amount of mobility. So mobility is great, but when we hurt and we get a little bit of a problem happening, you'll be surprised at how much you miss that mobility. You don't think about it so much, but when it's gone, you certainly do. So as always, we try and prevent injuries, but we always work with what we have. Okay, so we'll start with just a little bit of a warm up. I'm going to go back and forth and fix the monitor. So I'll be down first, but I'll have to go back when I stand up. So I'll just be doing a little bit of back and forth. So let's take the leg in a simple cross-legged position and just stay for a moment, collect yourself, collect your breath, feel the support of the ground, soften the shoulders down, and extend up through the spine. Feel the softness as much as you're grounding and gathering in. We'll take an inhale, breathing in and up the spine, and exhale, gathering in and down. And especially feel a gentle contraction in the lower abdomen. Feel that as your anchor. And then let's go ahead and inhale. We can raise the arms up. And then exhale. We're just going to take a gentle twist over to the right. So let your left hand go to the outside of your right knee and walk your right fingertips behind you. Use your right fingertips to push into the floor and extend up through your spine. And then exhale and see if you can turn into that twist any amount more. Really turn from the level of the belly. One more breath like that. Inhaling, gathering up the spine, finding more length, and exhale, and a little bit more of a twist. Really use all of your core muscles here. Good. And then we're going to keep a hold of your right outer knee and just reach the right arm up. So we're still looking to the right side, still a little bit in that twist. And then exhale, and you're going to take the right arm over your right ear towards the left side. Push your right knee down towards the floor so you kind of hold and use that leg as leverage. Let's hold on to that knee and reach further through your right fingertips, opening up the whole right side waist. There's a little bit of a back bend feel to your upper back mostly. And then go ahead and slowly turn, look down at your left knee, and you'll hold your left knee with your right hand. Try to pull out And really broaden your upper back and round here as you breathe out. Belly to spine, exhaling. Find a moment of pause after your exhale breath. And then inhale, bringing the arms into Garudasana or eagle pose. And you don't have to wrap the wrists if that feels too much for you, but you can if you like. Otherwise, you can bring the backs of the hands together. It's a little more gentle of the feeling. And we're going to inhale, just lift the elbows up. Just feel your shoulder blades against your back. And then exhale, draw the elbows into the navel and round here, like a cat spine. And then slowly release that. Walk the fingertips behind you. And now feel the shoulder blades squeeze together on your back to lift the sternum forward and up. The eye of your heart lifts up. Soften the ribs down and in while keeping and maintaining that lift. You can lift the gaze if it feels okay for your neck. Otherwise, the chin can be down, lengthening the back of the neck. Take a breath in. Feel the shoulder blades squeeze in. This is the bony support we need to open up the chest and stretch all of those muscles of the pectoralis. Feel the movement of the diaphragm. Good. And then soften out of that. Let's take the right leg in front. Good. Let's go ahead and inhale. Arms lift up. Feel the back body reaching up to the fingertips. Open up the front of the chest. Gaze can lift if you like. And then exhale. And we'll turn towards the left side. Hold to the outer left knee with the right hand and walk the left fingertips behind. So work into the twist first. Again, inhaling, lengthening up. Exhaling, twisting a little deeper, right at the level of the navel. 2 more breaths like that. Really gauging the length. And exhale, turning and twisting. Feel all of your organs go into this twist. So we're not isolating the body from the surface. We're going deeper, especially with the twist. Twist really kind of clear out the stagnation through the vertebral column. I'll just let the left hand come off the floor and reach alongside your left ear, and then tip over towards the right, taking a side bend. But there's a little sense of a back bend here. Keeping the chest lifted. Stay open. Feel the stretch on the left side of the ribs and towards the back. And then start to slowly turn to come out of it. So angling a little bit forward. So you even increase that stretch in the back and on this side. Good. And then go ahead and hold on to the opposite knee, having the left arm crossed in front now. And then as you exhale, you're going to round the upper back and broaden the shoulder blades apart. Navel to spine. And then we'll use the inhale to find those eagle arms, backs of the hands together if you like. And then inhale to lift the elbows up, keep the shoulder blades dropping down. And then exhale, draw the elbow points into the navel. Round and squeeze in. Really empty the breath out. And then softly release that. And then again, bring the fingertips behind you and adduct the shoulder blades together. This is called shoulder retraction, when the shoulder blades come together on your back to open and spread the front chest. And gaze can look down to soften, especially if you have a normal kyphosis in your upper back. This is the best way to work the gaze, keeping the chin in and back slightly. As people with kyphosis typically overuse the neck and the chin. So keeping it quiet here. Squeeze in one more breath right into the eye of your heart. And then exhale, release. Just hold on lightly to the knees, and we'll just take a little spin around just to open up a little bit more through the spine. Breathe into all the 3 curves of your spine, feeling the relationship to one another, and then we'll go in the opposite direction. Breathing in and out. Just lubricating all of the vertebrae. Beautiful. All right, so we'll start with just a simple hand clasp. We'll interlace the hands, fingers behind the base of the skull. And then keeping a gentle curve in the back of your neck. So we never want to flatten the curve in the neck, the cervical spine. We're just going to use the elbow tips to lift and pull the chest forward and up, keeping the neck neutral. And again, the gaze can look up. You can fall back a little bit into the hold of your hand, but without creasing the curve of your neck. And stay. Keep the ribs from popping out so much. They like to burst here. Let's see if you can really center the lift, the center of the chest, widening and lifting through the chest and the collarbones. One more big breath here. Lifting, lifting, and then exhale. So that's a really nice support for the head. And we want to think about axial extension in yoga therapy. This is really stressed a lot. Axial extension is making the movement or bringing the mobility into the thoracic spine more than the low back spine or the cervical spine. So people that can't get a back bend in the thoracic spine often use the neck. So to think or to feel for that back bend. And of course, a lot of us overuse the lumbar spine. So these are the most mobile areas of the spine. So we want to really center the attention in the upper mid back, right where the shoulder blades are. So this is typically an area of a lot of restriction. And of course, because we have the bones of the ribs, which create that restriction. But we can really start to think about bringing more and more movement here. And a lot of it happens just through awareness. So it's very subtle at first, but to just really keep with practice and keep centering the momentum from this area of the spine, you'll get more and more proficient at it. So I want you to think about that, and we'll go into Tadasana. I'm going to stay seated, but you can stand for Tadasana if you like. Just a little bit easier. So a lot of times when we're stressed and we're in a state of high emotional turmoil, you can see people with their neck, all the little muscles in the neck kind of, eke out. So these are the accessory muscles of breathing, which we need, but we don't need to overuse them. They're there for a reason, but a lot of times when they get overused, it creates distortion in the upper back, and it starts to bring about that kyphosis, that rounding of the upper back. So we want to really quiet this area. These are mostly the scalene muscles and sometimes the TCM, that big kind of diagonal muscle, right from the back of your ear down into the pit of your throat. So we'll try to avoid using that so much. And I want you to think about isolating the breastbone from the neck and the collarbones. So when we lift, right, when you're lifting your arms up, forward and up, you want to feel this movement almost from the tip, the end, the xiphoid process of your breastbone, all the way up through. And see how I don't use any momentum in my shoulders and my neck. So all of this is quiet, and the energy or the momentum is coming right from here, right from this area. And I know it's not going to feel like much, but just practice with me. So inhale, feel the lift, almost like you're trying to make yourself wider and higher from this point. Really just reducing it to about this amount of height, moving it up and widening it out. And then let's add the shoulders with that. So inhale. Again, not overusing the shoulders or the neck, quieting that upper part of the body, and exhale and lowering. Let's go out. This is flexion of the shoulders as the arms raise. And back down. So every time you start with that inhale and lifting the arms, which we do a lot in vinyasa, a lot in flow, think about starting the momentum from that lift in your breastbone and then adding in the arms. Let the arms follow through, but initiate it right from this place. So let's try that on the inhale. Also gives you so much more room for your breath. And then exhale, starting to soften down. Beautiful. Now think about that lift with the arms without using the arms at all. Close your eyes with this one. I want you to go in deep. Really sensitize yourself to what's happening inside. And lower the arms, just in your mind's eye. And just feel all of the movement here that springs from here. And let's do that again, one more time without the arms, but visualize the arms. So close your eyes and go deep within. And then lower. Beautiful. It makes so much more difference. Okay, so we're going to work a little exercise that my therapeutic yoga teacher taught me, Ganesh Mohan. And this is really good for stabilizing the rotator cuff muscles. Like we have 4 muscles, they're like fingers that hold the shoulders and work the shoulders in rotation outward and inward. And these are the muscles that typically get overuse and eventually come into some types of problems. A lot of times it's the supraspinatus. It can be any one of them, but a lot of times it typically is the supraspinatus. And these can be very painful. Any type of tear or even tendinosis, which often happens with these muscles as well. So they can be very painful, and the pain can last for quite some time. And often there's really nothing you can do for pain. And so again, this is one thing that we really want to avoid, but again, you can work with it. So this is a great exercise to stabilize and strengthen these muscles that hold the shoulders and also helps in rotation. So we're going to keep the upper arms really close into the side body. We're going to just touch the fingertips lightly together, and we're going to open and close the lower arms, moving the fingertips away from each other, and you'll feel that squeeze, that really great squeeze along the shoulders, along those muscles. And then move through resistance like you're in water and you're creating that resistance to move in and out, tapping the fingertips lightly as you come in and moving away. So I'll do this about 5 more times. Go really slow and really work into this outward stretch through the fingertips, coming away. So you really feel those muscles squeeze in and down. This is really, really good. And we'll go for 3. And we'll go for 2. Stay with the resistance, working it out and in. And last one here. Beautiful. Just shake it out a little bit. Good. Bring the shoulders up to your ears. Bring the head back into your upper trap muscle and squeeze both together. Just bring a little squeeze of circulation in and just let all of the blood flow down. Feels nice. Right down out into the fingertips. Okay, so we'll work something called neutral spine. You'll set yourself up in hands and knees with the palms and fingers spread wide under your shoulders and knees under your hips. And then we're just going to let the belly kind of cave in towards the floor. So you feel that's kind of slack, right? And then kind of try to reverse out of that slack. So pick the belly up into the back, into the low back. So really squeeze the belly button back into the spine. Keep the collarbones nice and broad here. So we want this openness through the upper arms and the shoulders. And we want to keep this nice neutral spine. So the belly's active here. Okay, and just take a breath just to feel that. Exhale, again, squeeze that belly into the spine. Keep nice and broad through the collarbones. All right, and we'll turn the fingers of the right hand back, turn the fingers of the left hand back. If you can't get all the way back, you can just go to the side, and we'll just circle around a little bit. So you really feel the outward rotation in the upper arm bones. Collarbones nice and wide. Go in the opposite direction. So again, with the restriction and the rigidity in the thoracic spine, where the ribs attach, we have those compensation patterns, right, of overusing, then turn the fingertips back, of overusing the neck and the upper and the low back, right? And the mid back kind of stays pretty much static. So we want to move into a cat-cow now with really considering the movement to spring from the thoracic spine. So really working from the shoulder blades, really plant the shoulder blades in against the back and squeeze them together without overdoing the low back, without overdoing the neck. Keep both of those curves, those highly mobile curves, rather static, and try to center all the movement. Now we'll go into cow, we'll push into the palms and open wide between the shoulder blades. Let them broaden apart from each other. And then again, 2 more times. So really slow with this so you can feel and sensitize yourself to the very, very probably small incremental movements that you're bringing into your thoracic spine. And keeping the cervical and the lumbar spine rather quiet. So turn up the volume of the thoracic spine, as you say. Okay, so that's a good way to just start to play with the feeling of working a little bit further in that area, in the thoracic, and trying to avoid all the compensation patterns that we typically use or overuse. And so we want to do a little bit of scapular awareness. So not only the broadening, which is the protraction of the shoulder blades, and this is the retraction of the shoulder blades when we bring the shoulder blades together on the back to open the chest. So we want to also just kind of work it from just this kind of pushing and slackening down, right? So just work this. So the arms stay rather stable. And it's just kind of what I call shoulder flossing. So just letting the chest kind of collapse and sag and hang from the shoulder blades. And I'll turn so you can see it from this way. So just letting yourself hang, right? And then build up against that, right? Try to reverse out of that. And this builds up the serratus muscle on the side, which stabilizes the shoulders and also helps them to lift. So another very important muscle in the group that we like to strengthen. So we do a little bit of this flossing. And then another thing that we do a lot of is go in from our position from down dog. Okay, so when we go from plank, so to speak, or a position like this on the floor, and then we go into down dog. Sometimes there's, if we do that too quickly, we'll start to damage and we'll start to create those repetitive patterns, especially if you do regular vinyasa classes. So we'll start in this position of Sphinx pose. And I want you to turn your palms to face up. Okay. And then you'll feel this kind of widening and broadening across the upper chest, through the collarbones and through the shoulders. So this is outward rotation. So in down dog, it's a funny pose, like plank and down dog, because the upper arm bones are in an outward rotation position, but the lower arms are in an inward rotation position. And those positions, those two kind of dichotomies, work actually very harmoniously together. So this is a good way to start to feel that a little bit of dissecting how it feels from the upper arm to the lower arm. So I like to have the palms face up and then turn the palms to face down. So we feel that internal rotation of the lower arms into the thumbs, into the finger pads. Okay, so we'll get back onto our knees. And we'll do the same thing. So we'll have the upper arms in position, wide collarbones, right? You really want to feel that. And then turn the palms up. So now we have the outward rotation in the upper arms. And now we're going to turn the palms slowly down. So we have the inward rotation of the lower arms. And then press into the palms to lift and straighten the arms, still feeling that outward rotation in the upper arm bones, inward rotation in the lower arm bones. Press into the thumb side of the hands a little bit more strongly to keep that, and then lift the hips and press back into downward dog. So again, see if you can stabilize that feeling. Outward rotation. Bring the outer upper arm bones back. You want to feel like your tricep muscles are spinning behind as the bicep muscles spin forward. Okay, and then keep pressing into the thumbs and the index fingers. That will remind you of that inward rotation of the lower arms. All right, and a lot of guys, a lot of men, and some women have a little problem with the hand position in down dog. So a lot of times as an instructor, I see in class, their hands are a little bit too close together. Like if this is fine for me, this position is fine for me, it's not always fine for everyone else. So sometimes you actually do have to move your hands a little further apart, especially people that, you know, work out a lot with their upper body. They have a lot of upper body width and strength. So just to kind of counterbalance that with working the fingertips maybe slightly out to the side, I find that that's very helpful for some people that are kind of bulky up there. And also a little bit wider of a placement in the hands. All right. And then the same thing for plank really applies. And again, this could be a knee down plank. So if you have difficulty in your shoulders and you don't want to overtax them, or you're working back from an injury, this is a really nice plank to take. So a knee down plank. Notice how the knees my knee down plank are back behind the hips. They're not under the hips, right? This is a tabletop. This is a modified plank with the knees back, and we're creating one long line from the knees all the way through the crown of the head, right? You can also bring it onto your forearm, so you have a forearm plank as well, if that feels better. But this takes up a lot of the weight of the body, so the shoulders have less load. All right, so that's one position that you can take. And again, you want to feel in any plank that you do that you have that inward spin of the lower forearms, outward spin of the upper arms, and that the shoulder blades are protracting, meaning they are broadening apart, belly to spine, and your legs are super engaged, right? Because it has to hold the rest of your weight, your body weight. All right. And then you're going to have a block, or you can watch me first, and then you can just going forward, you can follow this through. But this is a really nice way to do the vinyasa that I found, and it's really helpful. And again, it takes a lot of the extra weight off the arms and the shoulders. So we use a block. I'll use it on the medium side, and you can always test this out and see what works better for you. And you'll come into child's pose, and you'll just align that block right at your ridge line, at your eyebrows, and then walk your hands forward. Take a breath. Exhale all the air out. Nice and soft. Letting go. And then coming forward. Hands and knees. Curl the toes in and find your plank. Protraction of the shoulder blades again. Inward rotation of the lower forearms. Outward rotation of the upper arms. Come forward a little bit on your tippy toes and then lower down. So this is the chaturanga, right, that we typically do. But watch how that block catches right at the base of my pelvis, right where the bones are. So it's in a perfect spot. And then this is a great way, because you're held by the block. This is a great way to bring your shoulders in line with your elbows, but no lower than your elbows. So this is a really great way to work your core. Also, plank is it's just the gold standard for strengthening and stabilizing your core and really strengthening the entire body. So this is just a really nice way to just kind of ease into the whole idea of a chaturanga. And then point the toes back and watch how that block supports you for your movement into upper dog. So nice, right? And then open up those shoulders, right? Broaden the collarbones, lift the low belly, and turn on those legs. And then soften out of it. So that's just, you can go up to down dog too, but that's just a really nice way that I find you can get that same support. But also, I find that a lot of times that movement from chaturanga into up dog is just way too much torque on your shoulders. And I pretty much skip it most of the time. Sometimes I'll do it, but I never do it as much as is called for in a lot of the Ashtanga classes. So what I do is typically something like this, or a knee down plank, come forward, lower onto my belly, and then bring myself into a cobra or an up dog from my belly. And I like to stay a little bit longer in the support of the back bend before I go lifting the hips up and back in down dog. So I don't like to move through those vinyasas so quickly. I know that it looks nice, it feels kind of fun, and it does get the heat up, but really, what price are you paying for that repetition of movement over and over and over again? And also with repetitive movements like that, we tend to lose our concentration and our awareness starts to flag. And that's specifically where the problem of disturbance and dysfunction and eventual injury comes in, right in those transitions. So think about that. And what I'll do next is work some of the TCM meridian stretches into this sequence. So these are really great because when you work through the entire circuitry of the body, which these meridian stretches do, because they work with the deeper connective tissue. So the connective tissue is kind of like the communication system of the tissues of the body. So instead of isolating these stretches, when you stretch your neck and you're just isolating one area here, you know, when you use your arms and your fingertips come into that stretch, there's a real difference. This is a way safer, more effective way to really open up all of the other parts of the body that are connected to the neck. So it makes so much more sense. So we'll start first with the lung and the large intestine. So the lung stretch, you can do this standing or sitting down. The lung stretch is the arms out to the side and then the palms kind of turned up and the thumbs turned back. Okay, and you just really breathe from the top of the lungs, which is really up above the collarbones, out to the skin of the thumbprints. Just really feel that breath move inside the rib cage. Feel the lung tissue grow and expand out to the inner ribs. And exhale. Notice how the lungs shrink and narrow back down. So you'll feel in these stretches slightly different from yogic stretches. You'll feel a little tingling, kind of a pushing, a pulling, maybe a slight burning. And that's very common. That's normal. So feel how the stretch really moves through the entire circuitry of the connective tissue, going from the points and the fingertips and the thumb tip through the upper arms and into the pectoralis. That's where the lung meridian begins. And the last breath here. Remember the shoulder blades drop down and away. Good. And then just keep the right arm and point through the right index finger. Take the arm slightly down at an angle and then slightly back. Turn your head and bring your chin towards over your left shoulder. So we're creating this whole energy line from the index finger where it starts through the outer upper arm, across the shoulder, into the neck, across the CSM, the jaw, the masseter, and above the upper lip, and it ends to the opposite nostril. So this is the line that you're using, that you're stretching. So that energy current is coming alive using the breath. We use the breath as a pump. So breathing through that line. Remember, the finger is pointing back as well as away. So the lung and the large intestine are both about letting go, about ridding the body of toxins. The lung is the body's first defense. So it's all about creating that higher level of immunity when we clear out the things that need to go. And the emotions that correlate with these two meridians are a loss, sadness, grief. So when we're going through those emotions, sometimes we will feel it in the neck and the shoulders. And then slowly release that, and we'll work the other side. So point out through your left index to the side and a little bit further back, and then bring your right shin, stretch your right shin over your right shoulder. And you'll feel that line of energy light up. Breathe and use the breath as a piston to move the energy, move the chi, the prana. Basically, they're talking about the same source of vital energy. Breathing, feeling what you feel. From the index finger all the way to the opposite nostril. It's also a very good point on the side of the nostril. One last breath here. Good. And slowly release. Just shake it out a little bit. And then the next we have the pericardium stretch with the triple warmer stretch. Okay, so these maybe are not official organs, but they constitute these meridian stretches according to TCM, and they are highly valuable. So let's open out the arms, extend away from the center of the chest. The pericardium starts in the upper chest, or the side of the chest, and it goes out all the way to the middle of the palm and ends at the middle finger, right at the tip of the middle finger. So pericardium 8 in the center of the palm is a really important point, and this is something you can do yourself. So we're going to spread the palms away from the right and left side of the heart. The pericardium is a sac that protects the heart organ. It's about defense and protection. Concentrate on the exhale breath to soften the shoulder blades down the back and open up into the stretch a little bit more. And pushing the right palm away, pushing the left palm away, moving from the center of the chest out into the hands, into the palms, into the tips of your middle fingers. Concentrate on the exhale breath, the diaphragm soften up into the thoracic cavity. Use the inhale to find more lift and more extension through the arms. You can really feel probably a very strong pulling sensation in this. Keep the shoulder blades from riding up. Make sure they're depressing downward so that the center of the chest can lift and broaden. It's what we felt when we were working in Tadasana and finding that separation, that isolation. And then slowly release that down. Good, just shake it out a little bit. And then the triple warmer is that we bring, I'm just gonna sit on a block. You bring the hands behind, palm faces your body. And the triple warmer starts in the ring fingers. So we're working the ring fingers now. So the ring fingers extend down. So don't overuse the low back here. So you don't want to arch your back and send your ribs forward like this. You want to tuck in with the low belly. So feel that resist in the low belly, pull the tailbone down and try to keep that. And then reach more strongly through the left index finger and roll your right ear over your right shoulder. So this point goes up, the index finger, the front of the hand, or the back of the hand, and goes up across the deltoid and the shoulder, neck, jaw, and it ends at your outer eyebrow. Okay, so see if you can feel that line kind of light up, all of that circuitry, stimulating those points and opening up those channels. The triple warmer is all about kind of the body's thermostat, regulating the heat in the body in different areas of the trunk. And then we'll go ahead and slowly bring the chin down to the chest, bring the chest up to the chin. So it's chin lock, Jalandhara Bandha here. Shoulder blades right down. And then roll the left ear over the left shoulder and extend out the ring finger of the right hand. A little bit more strongly than the left. And again, feel that line of stretch. Feel how it's deepening and using more of a extended strategy of stretching instead of isolating in one tiny part of your body and probably doing more damage than you're doing any type of help. And then you can take it just side to side a little bit, just little easy rolls. Right ear to right shoulder, dropping through your Jalandhara Bandha, and then left ear to left shoulder, and dropping down. Good. So I really feel these in such a different way. So I hope you are too. And if you have any questions, always feel free to contact me and send me a message. So the last two pairs are the heart and the small intestine. The small intestine is considered the heart of the entire GI tract in Chinese medicine. So they relate in that way, and they also relate through the pinky finger. This is where one ends and one begins, and also the shoulder and internal and external rotation. So let's start, and you'll remember these arms from yoga. These are cow face arms. And the heart organ is all about external rotation. So that's the upper arm in cow face, and the small intestine is the internal rotation. Okay, so we're going to combine them with our arms. I'm just going to fix that a little bit so you can see where my elbow's going. So let's take our right arm, palm faces forward, and then turn the palm to face behind you so that the elbow is facing away from you. You can use your hand and just kind of turn and twist that tricep from the outer to in, and then bend the elbow. And then use the left hand to bring the elbow behind the head and press the head back. So this is half of the arms. This is the external rotation, really working the heart meridian from the armpit all the way up into down the upper arm, down the forearm, and the pinky side of the wrist, which is the ulnar side, the ulnar nerve side of the wrist, into the inner middle or the inner pinky finger. And then we'll work the opposite arm. So it's all about the internal rotation. So the left shoulder will turn in, and then you can bring the arm just behind the back, just like this. So you don't have to connect. It can just rest there. The important thing is you feel the internal rotation, and just work through the pinky fingers. So really feel the pinky fingers. If you want to connect, you can always connect the hands if you have that, and then press the head back without bursting the ribs forward, keeping the tailbone long. So you want low belly to stay active. You want to support that lumbar spine, not letting it go into too much of a heavy lordosis, keeping it rather neutral and quiet. And again, concentrating more into the axial extension in the upper back. So staying here for a couple more breaths, really thinking about the feeling in the shoulders, the shoulder blades, finding that current of energy, breathing the breath, the chi, the prana through that current into the connective tissue, pinky fingers, shoulders, internal, external rotation. This is all about that group of rotator cuff muscles. And then slowly release. Take your time. Again, the transitions are really important to stay mindful through. Okay. And then we'll do the opposite side. The left arm up. The heart is all about joy, love, connection. The small intestine actually is about heartbreak, right? The broken heart. So again, just feel what you feel the sense of connection to your inner consciousness. The abode of the self. Pressing the head back, trying not to burst the ribs forward. Close your eyes and think about that current of energy. Stoking that current with the breath. Smooth breath in, smooth breath out. Armpit, shoulders, pinky fingers, lining up all the points in between. The small intestine ends at the tragus, the tab of flesh right before the ear hole. Okay, and then slowly start to release the arms and just reach long and lower down. Beautiful. Just take a moment and take a child's pose just to stretch out the arms forward, and then walk the arms alongside. Take them back and the palms can face up, and you can drop your head on a block or let the head come all the way down to the surface of the mat if that feels better for you. And just feel in this pose that the shoulder blades just kind of slip off the back. And breathe in to that feeling of just letting go through the shoulders. And then I wanted to show a little bit of back bends from the floor. So Makarasana, especially if you have a shoulder injury, or again, if you feel like you're developing one and you just want to lay off a little bit, this is a really great one of the prone series of back bends. that are really good just to relax the shoulders. So you see the angle of my elbow is way far back. It's not under the shoulder like it would be for Sphinx. So you're really just letting go of the shoulders. There's no commitment of the arms here whatsoever. Lengthen out through the legs. So you want to activate the legs to help pick up a little bit of the imbalance of not using much of the arms. So let the kneecaps lift up, really turn on your quads, press into the tops of the feet, anchor the low belly in so that the tailbone extends down and back. And then activate the fingertips here and just pull, have a sense of pulling the sternum forward, pulling the eye of the heart forward. So just gauging length here, right? Pointing strongly back through the toes, lengthening through the legs, but lengthening forward from the hips, through the gaze, through the crown of the head. Activating the fingers like you're sliding the mat back, but you're not really moving. What that's doing is helping to drag a little bit more forward through the center of the chest. And I really like this feeling of just using the fingertips, activating the fingertips, activating the toes. And then you can keep that, bring the palms back alongside of you, and we can work a little bit of locust, lifting the legs through that length. So again, lengthen so much that the legs just want to lift. Pushing into the floor with the palms lightly, not overdoing the shoulders whatsoever. And then switch the hands forward again. Crawl the fingertips back and drag the heart a little bit more forward. Good, keeping the toes lifted off the floor. One more breath here. Lifting a little bit higher through the legs. And if you can see, you can feel if you're doing this along with me, the shoulders are really just taking a break here. They're taking a little bit of a rest. They're not involved in this at all. And you're still getting plenty of a back bend. And again, we're managing the back bend more into the thoracic spine. And then slowly lower down. Let's bring the palms. We're going to stack the right palm over the left and land the forehead right on the top palm. On the inhale, you're going to press up, lifting the elbows and pushing in and against your head, but you're letting your head go. Letting the head go completely. And slowly lower down. Take a breath in and out. And do the opposite palm on top. This is good when you really just need to keep your head and your neck rather still and relieve it from any undue compressive forces. So let's go ahead and inhale, lifting the arms off the floor, but letting the head really heavy itself into the hold of your hands. Staying here, breathing in, breathing out. One more inhale breath and exhale and lower down. And turn your head to one side. Take a breath in and out. And then turn your head to the opposite side. Take a breath in and out. Let the feet go apart a little bit and shake side to side. And then let's bring the palms underneath the arms. And we'll come into child's pose. I'm going to show this next one just on a block, but you could do it on the floor as well. And I'll just do it on one side. So you come forward, bring your elbow on the floor or on your block, and then press your hips back. The hand could come to the shoulder, and you'll just drop your head down. And then you can start to walk the knees back a little bit. So this is going to also soften the area of the upper back, the thoracic spine, just melting the chest towards the floor. And you keep walking the knees back a little bit more to bring more and more sensation into that area, again, the thoracic spine. So we want the movement to come from there. We want to feel it almost like butter get softer and softer, just melting. Remembering to breathe and using the breath as a way to correspond into that message of letting go, telling the whole nervous system that it's safe, that there's nothing to hold on to. I'll do the opposite arm so you can see better. And you can do both arms. You can do this on any manner of a height, whatever is useful for you. It's worth taking your time with this one because working just back and forth really softens and opens, but it might fight you a little bit in the beginning. So it's a good one to take a little bit more time so you can ease into it and ease out of it. So again, you could use anything that has some height, like even a bunch of pillows or a big bolster or something. So it would be a little softer too, which is nice. And then we're going to turn and go on the back now for reclined Apanasana. And bringing your knees in. There goes my device. Bringing your knees into the chest. So typically we do Apanasana, the shoulders are kind of a little active just to hold on. So think about ways in which you can just let your shoulders go in class and through your practice, and find a way of supporting your shoulders instead of overusing them. So let the shoulders just lay on the ground here. They don't have to be involved. And the hands could lightly pull the legs in from behind the thighs instead of in front of the shins. So you let your entire shoulders, the whole shoulder girdle relax, collarbones sink back, and breathe. Breathe the belly into the legs. And as you breathe out, pull the legs in towards the belly, belly to spine. And then we'll do a simple recline twist. And I like this one because this really gets into the upper back, that area of the thoracic spine, which again, we want to just improve the feeling of mobility there. And twists are great to do that anyway. But when we aim the knees a little bit closer up towards the chest and then drop the legs down to the right side, you'll feel the twist happen way further up. So in this area that we're really targeting here. And again, this helps in those compensation patterns that we have, where we really start to build our proprioception through the shoulder girdle, through the sense of opening and mobilizing the thoracic spine more and more. And as I said before, you'll just get more and more proficient with it. But it starts really slow and just really incrementally. And we'll go lift up on your inhale. And again, keeping that tight tuck. So typically, right, the knees are further away. And then when the knees go to the side, where do you feel that twist? Well, you'll feel it down further in the lower back spine. So that's why when we bring the knees in further to create a tuck towards the chest and then drop them down, you'll feel that twist go further up into the back. And that's where we want it. Breathing in and breathing out. Aiming your breath into the back of your right kidney. These twists feel luxurious. They really help to open up the breath as well, helping with respiration and the perfusion of blood from the lungs to the heart through the circulatory system. Let's go ahead and bring the knees up and then lower the feet down. And so we'll work bridge pose. Last few positions here. This is a really great one for the neck. So we use the positioning of the bridge to add weight to traction the neck, the cervical spine. So we're going to inhale, and as we exhale, we're going to turn the head towards the left to look left, and try not to bring the chin down towards your left shoulder, but keep space between the lower jaw and the top of your left shoulder. And from this position, you're going to press down into the side of your head, anchoring there, and you're going to slowly lift your hips forward and up as if you were going into bridge. You might not lift that high, and that's okay. Keep your shoulders really quiet. They're not really doing much in this pose. You're working more into the side of the head, and you're opening up and strengthening all of the muscles along the neck, along the cervical spine. So staying here, breathing into it. Pressing into the head, pressing evenly into the feet. And not really using the shoulders and the arms so much. They're really just for guiding. And then slowly scoop the belly to come down, lowering the vertebrae through the spine. Tailbone is the last thing that comes down. And then you'll take a breath in just to transition through the center. And we'll exhale to the other side. Nice and slow. Lowering your right ear towards the floor. Gaze towards the right. Pressing evenly into your inner and outer feet. Pressing back into the head. And then starting to shift into the lifting the hips forward and up, nice and slow. And you might not lift as high as I am, that's fine. Lift where it feels most comfortable for you. Stay there and breathe. Working into that tractioning, strengthening the muscles and the vertebrae of the cervical spine. Very delicate, vulnerable structures. One more breath and slowly release to come down. Good. You can do that several times on either side. I'm just going to go into the next one where we'll do a lateral flexion. So you're bringing your left ear to your left shoulder. You could even reach for your left outer ankle or heel and hold there. And then we're going to go up. Same thing. Start to lift the hips. Press into the back and side of your head to come up. Just guiding yourself with your shoulders and your arms. Press back into the head to create that traction. And then slowly come down. Traction is really important, especially in the cervical spine. Let's come through center, take a breath and a half here. And as you exhale, you'll turn and take your right ear, sorry, not a twist, but a lateral bend, taking your right ear to your right shoulder. And then slowly concentrating on the lifting of the hips. Pressing evenly into the feet and pressing back into the head. Staying there, using the weight of this position to load up the traction. Tractioning is very stabilizing, especially when you're adding the component of strength. Bringing through all the snags and tangles of the neck and the upper back and down the shoulders into the arms, right? Because there's a very dense network of nerves here in the brachial plexus. So there's a lot of things that kind of go wrong, and even down into the wrists. Okay, so you're going to find a little bit of height to lift your legs up. So I just have this ball handy. So we'll end in this position. And you can take your thumbs to the points on either side of the base of your skull. This is bladder 10. It's called celestial pillar. And this is a beautiful acupressure point that you can do yourself, or if you have a loved one nearby, they can do it for you, which is even nicer. And they can even give you a little pull, or you can even give yourself a little pull and traction a bit here as you press, and give a nice amount of pressure here. This is a bladder point 10, urinary bladder. Breathe in and out. This is a wonderful point for just relaxing all the muscles and tendons of the body. It helps with headaches and neck pain. And it also is an eye brightener. So you can just really feel into that. Keep the pressure with your thumbs on either side of the base of your skull, right alongside that, the tendon that you feel on either side. It's a really nice point. If you feel a little bit more on the emotional side today, you can bring your fingertips right to the center of your sternum, right at the level of the nipple and the chest, and just kind of press really strongly here. This is CV17. This releases a lot of emotional baggage, things that haven't cleared away yet. Remember, use the strength of your hands as you use those pressure points, but without overusing the shoulders as much. So always finding ways to relax the shoulders in practice, and also during the day and your activities of daily life as well. All along the tip of the shoulders are really great points too. One is the gallbladder point, 21, shoulder well, where you can kind of dig in right at the top of the shoulder line, and you can feel your trapezius muscle. You can get your fingers deep in there and just kind of squeeze. This sends energy from the head and the neck down through the body. So it kind of releases anything that's kind of stuck and stagnant. And it's not only muscle tension, as I said, it's a lot of emotional tension. So a reflection that I'd like to leave you with today is really about using the idea of forgiveness, especially when you have pain, and the idea of forgiving not only your pain, because pain is a message, right, that comes from somewhere. It's not something random. There's something that needs to be looked at. So forgiving the pain itself, and the willingness to see your pain as a teacher, to motivate you to go forward, to handle it in some way, to look deeper, to probe a little bit more, to inquire. A lot of times there's chronic weakness and pain around the shoulders, so that does require a little bit more of an effort, a little bit more of deeper probing, but not probing to dwell in and with the pain and discomfort, but getting getting stuck there. But really it's about shifting out of that, looking at things in a different way, looking at things with an attitude of conscious compassion, benevolence, even respect. How can we respond instead of react to things like pain? Because they're inclusive, right? Pain is just something else that's rising in this field of our body. And then pain creates boundaries over time. It starts to bring on limitations, and we often meet that with this critical eye, with this hypervigilance. And that state just perpetuates the limitation and the feeling of being bounded, right, and gripped. So really, that it narrows and contracts our space. So what is it about your emotional tone? Remembering that emotions are also something that just rises up in that space and they leave. So emotions could be thought of as healing messages, right? It's like the pain. It's all message. It's all communication from the body. So if we think of emotions as healing messages, emotions are not bad or they're not good. They're just pointing to something. What's bad is when we live in our emotions, when we give a home to our emotions, when we create stability around that emotion. When emotions really are just like weather, it's the clouds, it's the movement of a cloudy sky, because what's outside is what's also inside, right? So we look at nature. Nature teaches us who we are. If we see, nature has a rainy, crappy day, and so do we. So sometimes we don't really have to build so much around that emotion. Just let it be freed, and see what happens with that lighter tack, with that lighter feeling of just letting it be for a certain amount of time. Let it teach us something. Let it say whatever it needs to say, and let it be off. So it really is about creating the environment for things to shift and move, and not holding on to them, not clinging to them. So whatever is there, heartbreak, loneliness, jealousy, resentment, anger, it's not who you are. It's just what's there, what's presenting itself. How many times do we say, I am angry? No, it's just that there's anger there. There's anger. And just saying that, it sounds so much better. It sounds so much softer. And it gives it a little bit more freedom, a little bit more liberation to go. We don't own it. It's not our possession. It's just a visitor. So as always, you can stay and work on your points, work on the shoulders, or take time with that bladder 10 point. It's a wonderful point. And I'll leave you now. Let's bring the palms together, and dedicating the merits of this practice to the universal healing of this planet and all of its inhabitants. I thank you so much, and namaste.